The overhead lights dimmed as flight attendants prepared the cabin for the long journey ahead. Emma settled into her window seat and opened a worn book of poetry that had belonged to her late mother. At 57, she had learned to find peace in small moments like these. The aircraft filled slowly with travelers. A young man in an expensive blue suit appeared in the aisle, carrying a diaper bag and a crying infant. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, and exhaustion marked his handsome face. He looked no older than 35. The baby wailed louder as he struggled to juggle the bag while trying to find their seats. Emma watched as other passengers turned away or put in earbuds. She knew that look in the young father's eyes. It was the same desperate helplessness she had seen in her own mirror decades ago when her daughter was small and her husband had just passed away. The man finally reached the seat beside Emma. He apologized quietly as he settled in with the screaming child. The baby's face was red from crying, and nothing the father tried seemed to help. Emma remembered those impossible nights when nothing worked and you felt so alone. After 20 minutes, the father's hands were shaking. The baby refused the bottle, refused the pacifier, just cried and cried. Emma closed her book and turned to him. "May I try something that used to work with my daughter?" The young man looked at her with such gratitude that it nearly broke her heart. He nodded and carefully passed the infant to her. Emma cradled the baby girl against her chest. She began to hum softly. Then she sang an old lullaby her own mother had sung to her in Ukrainian. The melody was simple and ancient, full of warmth from generations past. The baby's cries softened to whimpers. Emma continued singing and gently swaying. Within minutes, the child's eyes grew heavy. Soon she was sleeping peacefully. The relief on the father's face was profound. He whispered thank you and wiped his eyes quickly. Emma smiled and said, "Sometimes babies just need to hear a grandmother's voice." They spoke quietly as the plane climbed through the clouds. His name was Daniel, and the baby was Sophia. His wife had died during childbirth 8 months ago. He was flying home after a business trip that he had postponed 3 times because he could not bear to leave his daughter. Emma's heart ached for him. She shared her own story of loss and single parenthood, how her daughter was now 32 and living across the country with a family of her own, how the years had somehow passed both slowly and quickly. Daniel listened intently. He confessed that he felt lost most days, that everyone told him to hire more help, but he wanted to raise Sophia himself, to be present for every moment, even the difficult ones. Emma understood completely. She told him that loving through the exhaustion was what made you a real parent, that there was no shame in struggling or asking for help. As the flight continued, Emma held Sophia while Daniel finally ate something and rested. She sang more lullabies when the baby stirred. She showed him tricks she had learned decades ago for soothing an upset infant. The hours passed easily between them. When they landed, Daniel insisted on getting Emma's phone number. He said that Sophia needed someone like her in her life, someone who understood. Emma hesitated, but then agreed. Over the following weeks, Daniel called often, sometimes just to talk, sometimes ask advice when Sophia was teething or fighting sleep. Emma found herself looking forward to these conversations. One evening, Daniel appeared at her apartment door. Sophia was bundled in his arms. He looked nervous. "Emma, I need to tell you something. I should have been honest from the start." He explained that he was not just a businessman. His family owned one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country. He had more money than he would ever need. But none of it mattered without someone to share his life with. Someone who cared about Sophia not because of his wealth, but because of who she was. Emma was surprised but not impressed by the revelation. She had genuinely cared for them both regardless of money. Daniel asked if she would consider being in their lives permanently, not as an employee but as family, perhaps even as something more if she was open to it. Emma was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her quiet life, her small routines, the loneliness she had grown accustomed to. Then she looked at Sophia's sleeping face and at Daniel's hopeful eyes. Sometimes life gives you a second chance when you least expect it. She smiled and said, "I would like that very much." In the months that followed, Emma became a cherished part of their household. She was there for Sophia's first steps, for Daniel's difficult days, for quiet evenings when they all needed each other. They built a family not from obligation or convenience, but from genuine love and respect. Emma had boarded that plane expecting nothing more than a quiet flight. Instead, she found a purpose she thought she had lost, and two hearts that needed her as much as she needed them. Sometimes the most extraordinary blessings come disguised as a crying baby on an airplane, and sometimes a simple lullaby can change everything.